The 2025 research on sex after 65 brings new depth and scale to what we know about aging and intimacy. What scientists discovered about sexual satisfaction in older adults will change how you prepare for your later years. The new longitudinal studies tracked participants for over 15 years and found that certain factors predict not just better sex, but successful aging overall. These findings build on earlier research, but reveal patterns that surprised even the researchers themselves. 1 in 3 Americans over 55 have sex at least once a week, with seniors in their 70s actually reporting higher activity rates than those in their 60s. Even more striking, 1 in 6 seniors say their sexual experiences are better now than when they were younger. Later, we'll reveal why adaptability matters more than physical health or relationship length in predicting satisfaction. The study behind these discoveries represents the most comprehensive look at sexual wellness and aging ever conducted. The 2025 study that changed everything. Researchers from the German Aging Survey and the English longitudinal study on aging began tracking sexual wellness in older adults with a simple goal: to understand how intimacy changes over time for people entering their later years. What they discovered challenged fundamental assumptions about sex after 65. This landmark multi-country study followed over 8,000 adults for more than a decade, using novel tools to measure not just activity, but emotional and relational aspects of intimacy. Previous studies on sexual satisfaction in older adults typically followed people for just a few years or relied on single snapshots in time. This new research took a completely different approach. The team collected detailed information at regular intervals, creating a rich database that shows how sexual satisfaction actually evolves as people age. Instead of making assumptions based on limited data, researchers could see patterns emerge over years of observation. The methodology was rigorous. Each assessment included comprehensive health evaluations, detailed relationship quality measures, and extensive intimacy questionnaires that went far beyond simple yes or no questions about sexual activity. The researchers divided participants into distinct groups based on life stage rather than just chronological age. The pre-retirement group included adults aged 55 to 64, people who were still working but beginning to think about their later years. The early retirement group captured adults aged 65 to 74, many of whom were adjusting to retirement and changing life circumstances. The later years group included participants over 75, adults who had been navigating aging for some time. This division allowed researchers to see how sexual satisfaction changes not just with age, but with the major life transitions that come with getting older. What made this study groundbreaking wasn't just its size or duration. It was the new measurement tools researchers developed. Previous research often treated sexual satisfaction as a simple rating scale. This study created multidimensional assessments that measured physical satisfaction, emotional intimacy, relationship connection, and personal fulfillment separately. They tracked how these different aspects of sexual wellness changed independently and how they influenced each other over time. The questionnaires also captured information about sexual communication, adaptation to physical changes, and how participants defined sexual satisfaction for themselves. Each wave of data collection was comprehensive in ways that previous studies never attempted. Participants underwent detailed health screenings that measured everything from cardiovascular function to hormone levels to cognitive assessment. The relationship quality measures looked at communication patterns, conflict resolution, shared activities, and emotional support. The intimacy questionnaires explored not just frequency of sexual activity, but satisfaction with different types of physical and emotional intimacy. Researchers also collected information about social connections, mental health, life satisfaction, and how participants viewed aging itself. The results started surprising researchers from the very first analysis. When they compared sexual satisfaction across age groups, they found patterns that contradicted decades of assumptions about aging and sexuality. The data showed that sexual satisfaction didn't follow the steady decline that most experts expected. Instead, satisfaction levels varied dramatically within each age group, and some of the highest satisfaction scores came from participants in their 70s and 80s. This finding alone challenged the widespread belief that sexual wellness inevitably decreases with age. Even more surprising was what predicted sexual satisfaction across all age groups. Researchers expected physical health to be the primary factor. And while health certainly mattered, it wasn't the strongest predictor. They thought relationship length might be key. Couples together for decades should have developed better sexual communication and intimacy. But the data revealed more complex patterns than anyone anticipated. The research team ran multiple statistical analyses to identify what actually predicted sexual satisfaction in their participants. They controlled for health status, relationship factors, socioeconomic variables, and demographic characteristics. They looked at how different factors interacted with each other and how their influence changed over time. The statistical models became increasingly complex as researchers tried to understand the surprising patterns emerging from their data. The German study specifically found that rural living, BMI, and emotional connection were stronger predictors than income levels, challenging assumptions about socioeconomic factors. What emerged as the most powerful predictor of sexual satisfaction caught everyone off guard. It wasn't physical health, though that mattered. It wasn't relationship quality, though that played a role. It wasn't mental health, social connections, or financial security, though all of these factors contributed to sexual wellness. The strongest predictor was something researchers had barely measured in previous studies, something that most people don't think about when considering sexual satisfaction in later life. The implications of these findings extend far beyond academic research. The factors that predict sexual satisfaction after 65 are largely within our control, regardless of our current age or circumstances. The study revealed that people who develop certain skills and attitudes throughout their lives maintain higher sexual satisfaction as they age. These aren't complex interventions that require medical expertise or expensive treatments. They're approaches to life and relationships that anyone can start developing today. The research also showed that sexual satisfaction in later life affects far more than just intimate relationships. Participants with higher sexual satisfaction scores had better overall health outcomes, stronger social connections, and higher life satisfaction. They were more resilient in the face of age-related challenges and adapted better to major life changes. Sexual wellness emerged as both a predictor and outcome of successful aging, creating positive cycles that enhanced overall well-being. Perhaps most importantly, the study revealed that sexual satisfaction after 65 is not predetermined by genetics, early life experiences, or unchangeable circumstances. The factors that matter most can be influenced through conscious choices and deliberate practice. This finding has profound implications for how we prepare for our later years and how we support older adults in maintaining sexual wellness. The research data continues to yield new insights as scientists analyze the relationships between different variables. The patterns they've identified are reshaping how medical professionals approach sexual health in older adults and how relationship experts think about intimacy across the lifespan. But before we explore what drives satisfaction, we need to examine what the actual numbers reveal about sexual activity in this age group. What the numbers actually show about sex after 65. The updated 2025 data reveals numbers that completely contradict what most people believe about sex after 65. When researchers analyzed the latest statistics from studies like the Healthy Aging Poll, they found that about half of people aged 65 to 70 remained sexually active, with 76% saying sex was important to their quality of life. This figure represents a significant shift from previous estimates and reveals a fundamental change in how older adults approach sexuality and how researchers measure sexual activity. Breaking down the numbers by specific age groups shows even more surprising patterns. The 65 to 74 age group maintains the highest levels of sexual activity among seniors, but the decline isn't as steep as researchers expected. Among adults aged 75 to 84, sexual activity rates drop, but still remain substantial. The Lancet data shows that 31% of men and 14% of women at 80 and older remain active. Even these numbers challenge the widespread assumption that sexual activity essentially ends in the mid-70s. The variation within age groups tells an equally important story. Sexual activity rates among 70-year-olds range from 0 to multiple times per week, with the majority falling somewhere in the middle. This wide variation suggests that chronological age alone doesn't determine sexual activity levels. Some 75-year-olds report more frequent sexual activity than some 65-year-olds. The data shows that individual factors matter far more than age brackets when predicting who remains sexually active. One of the most significant findings from the 2025 research involves the relationship between sexual interest and activity. The data reveals that interest in sex remains high even as frequency decreases with age. Adults who report sexual activity once or twice per month often maintain strong interest levels, suggesting that desire doesn't necessarily decline at the same rate as activity. This finding highlights the importance of distinguishing between interest, activity, and satisfaction when studying sexual wellness after 65. The expanded definition of sexual activity in recent research helps explain some of these surprising numbers. Researchers now include kissing, cuddling, massage, oral sex, and mutual masturbation alongside traditional intercourse when measuring sexual activity. This broader definition captures the reality of how many older adults experience intimacy. About 60% of sexually active seniors engage in activities beyond intercourse, with many reporting that these alternative forms of intimacy provide greater satisfaction than they experienced when younger. Physical limitations that come with aging often require couples to expand their sexual repertoire. The 2025 data shows that couples who adapt their sexual practices to accommodate physical changes maintain higher activity levels than those who stick to previous patterns. Adults who embrace this broader definition of sexual activity report satisfaction levels that remain stable or even improve with age. This adaptability appears to be a key factor in maintaining sexual wellness throughout the later decades. The gender differences revealed in the 2025 data highlight important disparities in sexual activity rates among seniors. Among adults aged 65 to 74, men report being sexually active at higher rates than women. This gap widens in older age groups, with significantly more men aged 75 to 84 reporting sexual activity compared to women in the same age range. These differences reflect multiple factors, including hormonal changes, health status, and social circumstances. Several factors drive these gender differences in sexual activity rates. Women face unique challenges after menopause, including hormonal changes that can affect sexual desire and comfort. The research shows that women who receive appropriate medical support for these changes maintain sexual activity at rates much closer to men. Social factors also play a role. Women are more likely to be widowed and less likely to find new partners later in life. However, the 2025 data shows that single women who remain sexually active through masturbation or other solo activities report satisfaction levels similar to partnered women. Comparing these 2025 numbers to data from previous decades reveals dramatic changes in senior sexuality. In the 1990s and early 2000s, fewer than 40% of adults over 65 reported any sexual activity. The increase to current levels represents more than just better research methods. Societal attitudes about aging and sexuality have shifted significantly. The generation now entering their senior years grew up during the sexual revolution of the 1960s and maintains more open attitudes about sexuality throughout their lives. Medical advances also contribute to higher sexual activity rates among current seniors. Better treatments for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and other conditions that affect sexual function allow more older adults to remain sexually active. Improvements in hormone replacement therapy, erectile dysfunction treatments, and other medical interventions provide options that weren't available to previous generations of seniors. The 2025 data shows that adults who actively manage age-related health changes maintain sexual activity at rates significantly higher than those who don't seek medical support. The research reveals that cultural changes around discussions of sexuality also impact these numbers. Current seniors are more likely to discuss sexual concerns with healthcare providers and partners than previous generations. This openness leads to better outcomes because problems get addressed rather than ignored. The data shows that adults who communicate about sexual changes and challenges maintain higher satisfaction levels regardless of their activity frequency. Perhaps the most important finding from the 2025 data concerns the relationship between expectations and satisfaction. Adults who expect sexual activity to decline dramatically with age often experience exactly that decline. Those who maintain more positive expectations about sexual aging tend to remain active longer and report higher satisfaction levels. This suggests that attitudes about aging and sexuality significantly influence actual outcomes. The research also reveals differences in how older adults define sexual satisfaction compared to younger people. Many seniors place greater emphasis on emotional connection, physical comfort, and relationship intimacy than on physical performance or frequency. This shift in priorities helps explain why some older adults report higher sexual satisfaction than they experienced when younger, even with less frequent activity. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial for anyone preparing for their later years. The 2025 data suggests that multiple factors beyond simple aging influence sexual wellness after 65. The adults who maintain the highest activity levels and satisfaction scores share specific characteristics that extend well beyond their intimate relationships and touch every aspect of their health and well-being. The health connection nobody talks about. These characteristics point to specific physical health factors that most people never connect to sexual satisfaction. While many adults focus on obvious concerns like hormone changes or erectile function, cardiovascular health emerges as the strongest physical predictor of sexual satisfaction in older adults. According to AMA data, 40% of adults aged 65 to 80 remain sexually active, and this activity correlates directly with improved heart health and intimacy outcomes. This connection makes perfect sense when you understand how sexual function actually works in the human body, but it's a relationship that gets overlooked in most discussions about aging and sexuality. Your cardiovascular system controls blood flow throughout your entire body, including the genital region. Sexual arousal requires increased blood flow to specific areas, and this process depends entirely on healthy blood vessels and a strong heart. When cardiovascular health declines, the body struggles to deliver adequate blood flow during sexual activity. This affects not just physical function, but also confidence and overall sexual satisfaction. The research shows that adults who maintain excellent cardiovascular health through their 60s and 70s report sexual satisfaction scores nearly equivalent to adults in their 50s. The connection between heart health and sexual function affects both men and women, though in different ways. For men, cardiovascular problems often manifest as erectile dysfunction because erections require significant blood flow to the penis. For women, poor circulation can reduce sensitivity and natural lubrication, making sexual activity less comfortable and enjoyable. What surprises many people is that sexual dysfunction often serves as an early warning sign of cardiovascular disease. Adults who experience sudden changes in sexual function should discuss these changes with their healthcare providers because they may indicate underlying heart health issues. Diabetes and hypertension represent two of the most common conditions that significantly impact sexual satisfaction after 65. Diabetes damages blood vessels throughout the body over time, reducing circulation to genital areas and affecting nerve function that's crucial for sexual response. The condition also increases the risk of infections that can make sexual activity uncomfortable. Adults with well-controlled diabetes maintain much higher sexual satisfaction scores than those whose blood sugar levels fluctuate wildly. The difference isn't subtle. Proper diabetes management can mean the difference between maintaining an active sex life and experiencing significant sexual dysfunction. Hypertension affects sexual function through multiple mechanisms. High blood pressure damages blood vessel walls, reducing their ability to expand and contract normally. Many medications used to treat hypertension also have sexual side effects, creating a complex situation where treating one health problem can create another. The research shows that adults who work with their healthcare providers to find blood pressure medications with minimal sexual side effects maintain significantly higher satisfaction levels than those who simply accept sexual dysfunction as an inevitable consequence of treatment. Regular exercise emerged as one of the most powerful interventions for maintaining sexual satisfaction as people age. The Lancet findings confirm that physical activity correlates with improved sexual health and overall well-being in older adults. Adults who maintain consistent exercise routines throughout their 60s and 70s report dramatically higher sexual satisfaction scores compared to sedentary peers. Exercise improves cardiovascular health, increases flexibility, enhances mood, and boosts energy levels, all factors that contribute to better sexual experiences. The type of exercise matters less than consistency. Adults who walk regularly, swim, do yoga, or engage in strength training all show similar benefits for sexual wellness. The relationship between exercise and sexual satisfaction goes beyond just physical fitness. Regular physical activity improves body image and self-confidence, factors that significantly impact how comfortable people feel during intimate moments. Exercise also reduces stress and anxiety, mental states that interfere with sexual arousal and satisfaction. Adults who exercise regularly report feeling more attractive and confident about their bodies, regardless of objective changes in appearance that come with aging. Medications present both challenges and opportunities for sexual wellness after 65. Many common medications prescribed to older adults have sexual side effects that can reduce satisfaction and activity levels. Antidepressants, blood pressure medications, antihistamines, and pain medications can all interfere with sexual function. However, newer treatments are changing outcomes for many adults. Swell study recommendations include appropriate use of lubrication products and PDE5 inhibitors for adults over 60, which can work effectively for many people well into their 80s when used appropriately under medical supervision. Sleep quality emerged as a major factor in sexual satisfaction that previous research had largely ignored. Poor sleep disrupts hormone production, particularly testosterone levels that affect sexual desire in both men and women. Sleep deprivation also increases stress hormones, reduces energy levels, and affects mood, all factors that interfere with sexual interest and satisfaction. Adults who prioritize sleep hygiene and address sleep disorders maintain higher sexual satisfaction scores than those who struggle with chronic sleep problems. The relationship between physical health and sexual satisfaction works in both directions. Good sexual activity actually improves several physical health markers in older adults. Regular sexual activity provides cardiovascular exercise, releases stress-reducing hormones, and strengthens the immune system. Adults who maintain active sex lives show better physical health outcomes over time, creating a positive cycle where good health supports sexual activity, which in turn supports continued good health. The most sexually satisfied seniors in the study share specific health management strategies that go beyond basic medical care. They tend to take a proactive approach to health maintenance, working closely with healthcare providers to optimize treatment plans that support both general health and sexual wellness. They prioritize regular exercise, maintain healthy sleep schedules, and address health problems quickly rather than ignoring symptoms. These adults also communicate openly with their healthcare providers about sexual concerns, ensuring that sexual wellness remains part of their overall health management strategy. Understanding these health connections provides a roadmap for maintaining sexual satisfaction throughout the aging process. Physical health and sexual wellness are deeply interconnected, and addressing one almost always improves the other. However, the research revealed that physical health represents only part of the equation. What researchers discovered about the psychological factors influencing sexual satisfaction proved the mental health factor that than the physical health everything. Depression emerged as the most significant mental health factor affecting sexual satisfaction after 65, creating challenges that extend far beyond simple loss of interest. According to the Global Study of Sexual Attitudes and Behaviors, depression correlates with greater erectile dysfunction and lower overall sexual satisfaction in older adults. The relationship between mood and sexual function creates complex patterns that researchers are just beginning to understand, challenging decades of assumptions about how mental health impacts sexuality in older adults. Depression doesn't just reduce sexual desire. It affects how people experience physical and emotional connection during intimate moments. When someone experiences depression, their ability to feel physical pleasure decreases significantly. This condition, called anhedonia, affects sexual satisfaction even when people maintain regular sexual activity. The 2025 data shows that adults with untreated depression report sexual satisfaction scores significantly lower than those without depression, regardless of their physical health status or relationship quality. The research reveals that treating depression produces improvements in sexual satisfaction for many older adults. While specific treatment success rates vary, studies consistently show that adults who receive effective depression treatment often experience enhanced sexual wellness. These improvements frequently occur even when sexual activity frequency remains the same. The treatment seems to restore their ability to experience pleasure and connection during intimate moments. This finding suggests that addressing mental health can be more effective than focusing solely on physical aspects of sexual function. Anxiety creates different but equally significant challenges for sexual satisfaction after 65. Performance anxiety becomes particularly problematic as people experience age-related changes in sexual function. Men who develop erectile difficulties often experience anxiety that makes the problem worse, creating a cycle where worry about sexual performance actually causes sexual problems. Women going through menopause may develop anxiety about physical changes that affect their comfort during sexual activity. The 2025 research shows that adults who learn to manage performance anxiety maintain much higher sexual satisfaction than those who allow anxiety to escalate. Body image concerns intensify for many adults as they age, and these concerns directly impact sexual satisfaction. Physical changes that come with aging, weight gain, wrinkles, changes in muscle tone, surgical scars can make people feel less attractive and confident during intimate moments. The research reveals that adults who maintain positive body image throughout their 60s and 70s report sexual satisfaction scores nearly identical to younger adults. This finding suggests that how people feel about their bodies matters more than objective physical changes. Developing body acceptance becomes crucial for maintaining sexual satisfaction as people age. Adults who focus on what their bodies can do rather than how they look tend to maintain higher sexual satisfaction. The most satisfied seniors in the study shared specific strategies for maintaining body confidence. They practiced gratitude for their body's abilities, focused on physical sensations rather than appearance during intimate moments, and communicated openly with partners about insecurities. These approaches allowed them to maintain sexual confidence despite normal age-related physical changes. Grief and loss present unique challenges for sexual satisfaction in later life that younger adults rarely face. Many older adults must navigate sexual relationships while processing the loss of friends, family members, or previous partners. Grief affects sexual desire and satisfaction in complex ways. Some adults find that sexual intimacy provides comfort during difficult times, while others lose interest in physical intimacy entirely. The research shows that adults who receive support for processing grief maintain higher sexual satisfaction than those who attempt to handle loss alone. Widowhood creates particularly complex challenges for sexual satisfaction. Adults who lose long-term partners must navigate not just grief, but also the prospect of potentially forming new intimate relationships later in life. Some widowed adults find that memories of their deceased partner interfere with new sexual relationships. Others struggle with guilt about experiencing sexual desire or satisfaction with someone new. The 2025 data shows that widowed adults who receive counseling support adapt to these challenges more successfully than those who don't seek help. Mindfulness and stress management techniques emerged as powerful tools for improving sexual satisfaction in older adults. Adults who practice mindfulness meditation report higher sexual satisfaction scores than those who don't use these techniques. Mindfulness helps people stay present during intimate moments rather than worrying about performance or appearance. It also reduces the anxiety and stress that interfere with sexual arousal and satisfaction. The research shows that even adults who start mindfulness practices in their 70s experience significant improvements in sexual wellness. Stress management becomes increasingly important for sexual satisfaction as people age. Older adults often face multiple stressors, health concerns, financial worries, family responsibilities, social isolation that can interfere with sexual interest and satisfaction. Chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, which suppresses testosterone production and reduces sexual desire. Adults who develop effective stress management strategies maintain higher sexual satisfaction throughout their later years. These strategies include regular exercise, social connection, hobbies, and relaxation techniques. The research reveals that sense of purpose and meaning in life strongly correlates with sexual satisfaction after 65. Adults who maintain clear goals, engage in meaningful activities, and feel that their lives have purpose report significantly higher sexual satisfaction than those who feel aimless or disconnected from meaning. This connection makes sense when you consider that sexual intimacy is fundamentally about connection and meaning. Adults who find purpose in other areas of life bring that same sense of engagement to their intimate relationships. Mental health interventions often prove more effective than physical treatments for sexual satisfaction issues in older adults. Many adults who struggle with sexual satisfaction focus on physical solutions, medications, supplements, medical procedures, while ignoring mental health factors. The 2025 research shows that addressing depression, anxiety, stress, and body image concerns frequently produces better outcomes than medical interventions alone. This finding doesn't minimize the importance of physical health, but it highlights that sexual satisfaction is fundamentally influenced by mental and emotional factors. The connection between mental health and sexual satisfaction creates opportunities for improvement at any age. However, mental health represents only one piece of a larger puzzle. The research revealed that how couples navigate their relationships after 65 plays an even more decisive role in determining sexual satisfaction. The relationship quality revolution. Relationship dynamics undergo major shifts after age 65 that directly impact sexual satisfaction in ways most couples never anticipate. The 2025 research identifies relationship satisfaction as the strongest predictor of sexual satisfaction among older adults, more powerful than physical health, income, or even sexual frequency. This finding challenges the common assumption that maintaining sexual satisfaction depends primarily on physical factors, or that relationship quality naturally remains stable over decades. The data shows that couples who actively work on their relationship quality maintain sexual satisfaction levels that rival much younger couples. The research reveals a surprising truth about relationship duration and sexual satisfaction that contradicts popular wisdom. According to the English longitudinal study on aging, relationship quality, not length, predicted satisfaction outcomes. Some couples married for 40 years report sexual satisfaction levels lower than couples together for just 5 years. This finding suggests that time alone doesn't improve sexual relationships. Active effort and adaptation do. Many long-term couples assume that sexual satisfaction should naturally increase with familiarity and shared history. The data tells a different story. Couples who coast on their relationship history without actively nurturing their connection often experience declining sexual satisfaction over time. Familiarity can breed complacency rather than comfort when couples stop investing effort in their sexual relationship. The most sexually satisfied long-term couples in the study share specific practices that keep their relationships vibrant despite decades together. Major life transitions create significant impacts on sexual satisfaction for many couples. Adults who spent decades balancing work demands, child-rearing, and household responsibilities often experience dramatic changes when these circumstances shift. This transition can either strengthen or strain relationships depending on how couples navigate the change. Some couples discover renewed intimacy when work stress decreases and they have more time for each other. Others struggle with constant proximity and need to renegotiate their relationship dynamics entirely. These transitions affect sexual satisfaction through multiple pathways. Role changes that come with major life shifts can alter power dynamics within relationships. The partner who was the primary breadwinner may struggle with identity changes that affect their confidence and sexual self-image. Meanwhile, the partner who managed more household responsibilities may expect changes in domestic roles that don't always materialize. These role adjustments create stress that directly impacts sexual satisfaction unless couples communicate openly about their changing expectations. The German longitudinal study findings show that social network size predicted satisfaction outcomes, highlighting how relationship changes affect overall well-being. Couples who previously had limited time for intimacy due to work schedules may find renewed sexual connection when time pressures decrease. However, spending significantly more time together can also reduce the sense of novelty and anticipation that contributes to sexual desire. The most satisfied couples learn to balance togetherness with individual space and activities that maintain their sense of independence and personal identity. Maintaining desire in long-term relationships emerges as one of the most significant challenges for sexual satisfaction after 65. The excitement and novelty that characterize new relationships naturally fade over time, and couples must find new ways to generate interest and anticipation. The 2025 research shows that couples who try new activities together report significantly higher sexual satisfaction scores than those who maintain identical routines year after year. These shared new experiences don't have to be dramatic. Learning a new skill, visiting new places, or even changing routine activities can reignite connection. The connection between shared activities and sexual satisfaction appears to work through multiple mechanisms. Trying new things together creates opportunities for couples to see each other in different contexts, which can restore some of the novelty that contributes to sexual attraction. Shared challenges and accomplishments also strengthen emotional bonds that enhance sexual intimacy. Couples who regularly engage in new experiences together report feeling more connected and attracted to their partners than those who stick to familiar patterns. Adventure and novelty don't require expensive travel or extreme activities to improve sexual satisfaction. The research shows that couples benefit equally from simple changes like cooking new recipes together, taking different walking routes, attending cultural events, or learning new games. The key factor appears to be shared engagement in activities that require some level of cooperation and attention. These experiences create positive associations and memories that enhance overall relationship satisfaction. Caregiving responsibilities create unique challenges for sexual satisfaction that many couples don't anticipate. When one partner develops health problems requiring significant care, the relationship dynamic shifts dramatically. The caregiving partner often experiences increased stress, reduced personal time, and physical exhaustion that interfere with sexual interest and satisfaction. Meanwhile, the partner receiving care may struggle with feelings of dependence, reduced self-esteem, and physical limitations that affect sexual confidence. The impact of caregiving on sexual satisfaction varies significantly depending on how couples approach these challenges. Couples who maintain open communication about the sexual impact of caregiving responsibilities fare much better than those who avoid discussing these changes. Some couples find that caregiving actually increases emotional intimacy, which can enhance sexual satisfaction even when sexual frequency decreases. Others struggle to maintain any sense of sexual connection when caregiving demands become overwhelming. Widowhood and new relationships after 65 present complex challenges for sexual satisfaction that younger adults rarely face. Adults who lose long-term partners must navigate grief while potentially forming new intimate relationships. Some widowed adults find that new relationships provide opportunities for renewed sexual satisfaction and connection. Others struggle with comparisons to previous relationships or guilt about experiencing sexual pleasure with someone new. Specific relationship skills emerge as powerful predictors of sexual satisfaction in later life, regardless of relationship duration or circumstances. Emotional intimacy skills predict better sexual outcomes. Couples who maintain emotional connection through regular, meaningful conversations, shared activities, and physical affection report higher sexual satisfaction. Adaptability skills prove crucial for maintaining sexual satisfaction as relationships evolve with age. Couples who can adjust their sexual routines, expectations, and activities in response to physical or emotional changes maintain satisfaction levels that decline sharply for less adaptable couples. However, even the strongest relationships face challenges. When couples struggle to discuss their changing needs and concerns openly, the ability to communicate effectively about intimate matters becomes increasingly important as physical and emotional changes occur with aging. The communication breakthrough. Most couples discover that discussing intimate changes becomes easier than they expected once they take the first step. The 2025 research reveals that sexual communication actually improves with age for many couples, contradicting the assumption that older adults struggle to discuss intimate topics. Adults who maintain open dialogue about their sexual needs and concerns report dramatically higher satisfaction levels than those who avoid these conversations. The data shows that couples who regularly discuss their changing sexual needs experience satisfaction scores that are 50% higher than couples who don't communicate about these issues. This improvement in sexual communication with age appears to result from several factors working together. Older adults often have less to lose socially from discussing sensitive topics openly. They've typically moved beyond concerns about professional reputation or social standing that might inhibit younger adults from having frank conversations about sexuality. Many older couples also report feeling more comfortable with their partners after years together, which creates a foundation for more honest communication. The reduced pressure to perform sexually that comes with age can actually free couples to focus more on connection and communication. generational attitudes about discussing sex create both challenges and opportunities for current older adults. Many people now in their 60s and 70s grew up during the sexual revolution of the 1960s and experienced more open attitudes about sexuality than previous generations. However, they also encountered periods when discussing sex was considered inappropriate or embarrassing. These mixed generational messages can create confusion about how openly to communicate about sexual concerns. The 2025 research shows that couples who overcome these generational barriers to communication experience significantly improved intimacy and satisfaction. Bringing up sexual concerns with partners requires specific skills that many older adults never learned during their formative years. The most successful couples start with less threatening topics before moving to more sensitive issues. They choose appropriate timing when both partners are relaxed and not dealing with other stressors. They also frame sexual concerns as relationship issues rather than individual problems, which reduces defensiveness and encourages collaborative problem solving. The research shows that couples who approach sexual communication as a shared challenge rather than individual complaints maintain higher satisfaction levels. Initiating conversations about sexual concerns with healthcare providers presents additional challenges that many older adults must navigate. Only 17% of older adults report discussing sexual issues with their physicians, and 61% of these discussions are initiated by patients rather than healthcare providers. This pattern suggests that older adults must often take the lead in addressing sexual health concerns with medical professionals. The research shows that adults who successfully initiate these conversations with healthcare providers experience better sexual health outcomes and higher satisfaction levels. Healthcare provider attitudes and preparation significantly influence whether older adults feel comfortable discussing sexual concerns. Many physicians unwittingly accept misconceptions about sexual function in older adults, which can lead to dismissive responses when patients raise sexual health concerns. The research indicates that older adults who find healthcare providers willing to discuss sexual health openly receive better treatment for sexual concerns and maintain higher satisfaction levels throughout their later years. Humor and playfulness in sexual communication emerge as powerful tools for improving outcomes among older couples. The 2025 research reveals that couples who incorporate lightheartedness into their discussions about sex experience more satisfying sexual relationships than those who approach these conversations with excessive seriousness. Humor helps reduce anxiety and embarrassment that can interfere with honest communication about sensitive topics. It also creates positive associations with sexual discussions, making couples more likely to continue these important conversations over time. Technology and modern resources are transforming how older adults access information and communicate about sexual health. Online platforms provide anonymous ways to learn about sexual health topics that older adults might feel uncomfortable discussing face-to-face. Educational websites, forums, and telehealth services give older adults access to information and support that wasn't available to previous generations. The 2025 research shows that older adults who use these modern resources report feeling more confident about initiating sexual health conversations with partners and healthcare providers. Talking openly about physical changes that affect sexuality significantly reduces anxiety and improves satisfaction for older adults. Age-related changes like vaginal dryness, erectile dysfunction, and reduced sensation can create significant anxiety when couples don't discuss them openly. The research shows that addressing these changes with honesty and empathy helps couples adapt their sexual practices and maintain intimacy. Nearly half of adults over 55 have experienced erectile dysfunction either personally or with a partner, making these conversations essential for most older couples. The timing and approach of discussions about physical changes affects their impact on sexual satisfaction. Couples who discuss physical changes as they occur adapt more successfully than those who wait until problems become severe. Proactive communication allows couples to adjust their expectations and practices gradually rather than experiencing sudden disappointment or frustration. The research shows that couples who treat physical changes as normal parts of aging rather than failures maintain higher satisfaction levels. Nonverbal communication and emotional intimacy play crucial roles in sexual satisfaction that become more important with age. Physical affection, like hugging, cuddling, and hand-holding, enhances emotional intimacy and sexual satisfaction for older couples. These nonverbal expressions of affection can maintain connection even when verbal communication about sex remains difficult. The research shows that couples who maintain high levels of non-sexual physical affection report better sexual satisfaction than those who limit physical contact to sexual situations. The most satisfied couples share specific communication strategies that they've developed over time. They discuss their needs openly without blame or criticism. They use humor appropriately to reduce tension while still addressing important issues. They adapt their communication style to accommodate physical changes that affect sexuality. According to Swell data, seeking professional help correlates with reporting sexual problems, demonstrating that help-seeking behavior matters significantly for sexual wellness outcomes. Most importantly, they treat sexual communication as an ongoing process rather than a one-time discussion, continuously adjusting their approach as their needs and circumstances change. These communication patterns don't exist in isolation, but connect to broader social relationships that influence the social satisfaction in unexpected social connections ways. Beyond romantic relationships create ripple effects on sexual satisfaction that researchers discovered only recently. The German study reveals that the number of close contacts correlates with satisfaction scores, challenging the widespread belief that sexual satisfaction depends entirely on the quality of intimate partnerships. The data shows that people with robust social networks experience significantly higher sexual satisfaction than socially isolated individuals, even when controlling for relationship status and physical health. The connection between friendships and sexual wellness operates through multiple pathways that researchers are still mapping. Strong friendships provide emotional support that reduces stress and anxiety, factors that directly interfere with sexual function and satisfaction. Friends also serve as confidants for discussing concerns about aging, health changes, and relationship challenges. Adults who can process these concerns with trusted friends report feeling more confident and less anxious about sexual changes that come with aging. This emotional processing appears to translate directly into better sexual experiences and higher satisfaction levels. Social support networks also provide practical benefits that enhance sexual wellness. Friends often share information about healthcare providers, treatments, and resources that can address sexual health concerns. They provide encouragement for seeking medical help when sexual problems arise. Adults with strong social networks are more likely to discuss sexual health concerns with healthcare providers and to follow through with recommended treatments. The research shows that socially connected adults receive better medical care for sexual health issues than isolated individuals. Loneliness and social isolation create devastating impacts on sexual wellness that extend far beyond just feeling sad or disconnected. Chronic loneliness triggers stress responses that suppress hormone production, including testosterone levels that affect sexual desire in both men and women. Isolated adults also experience higher rates of depression and anxiety, conditions that significantly interfere with sexual function and satisfaction. The research shows that approximately 25% of older adults experience significant social isolation, and these individuals report sexual satisfaction scores substantially lower than socially connected peers. The physiological effects of loneliness on sexual function surprise many people. Social isolation activates inflammatory responses in the body that damage blood vessels and reduce circulation to genital areas. Lonely adults also experience disrupted sleep patterns that affect hormone production and energy levels needed for sexual activity. These biological changes mean that loneliness doesn't just affect motivation for sexual activity. It actually impairs the body's ability to function sexually even when motivation exists. Community involvement and social activities correlate strongly with sexual wellness through mechanisms that researchers are beginning to understand. Adults who participate regularly in community activities report higher sexual satisfaction than those who remain isolated at home. Community involvement provides opportunities for social interaction, reduces feelings of isolation, and creates a sense of purpose and belonging. These psychological benefits translate into better overall health and higher sexual satisfaction. The research shows that adults who volunteer regularly or participate in community groups maintain sexual satisfaction levels similar to adults 10 years younger. The type of community involvement matters less than consistency and personal engagement. Adults who attend religious services, participate in hobby groups, volunteer for charitable organizations, or join exercise classes all show similar benefits for sexual wellness. The key factor appears to be regular social interaction with people who share common interests or values. These connections provide emotional support, reduce stress, and create positive social experiences that enhance overall well-being and sexual satisfaction. Maintaining social connections becomes increasingly challenging as people age, creating barriers to sexual wellness that many adults don't anticipate. Retirement eliminates daily workplace interactions that provided social connection for decades. Health problems can limit mobility and make it difficult to participate in social activities. The death of friends and family members reduces social networks, just when maintaining connections becomes more important for health and wellness. Adults who don't actively work to maintain and build social connections often experience declining sexual satisfaction as their social isolation increases. Transportation barriers particularly affect older adults' ability to maintain social connections. Adults who can no longer drive safely may struggle to attend social activities or visit friends regularly. Limited public transportation in many areas makes it difficult for older adults to maintain active social lives. The research shows that adults who solve transportation challenges through ride-sharing, public transit, or help from family and friends maintain higher sexual satisfaction than those who become isolated due to mobility limitations. Intergenerational relationships provide unique benefits for sexual confidence and satisfaction that researchers documented in recent studies. Older adults who maintain regular contact with younger family members, friends, or community members report feeling more vital and attractive. These relationships help older adults stay connected to changing social attitudes about sexuality and aging. They also provide opportunities to serve as mentors or advisors, roles that enhance self-esteem and confidence. The research shows that adults with strong intergenerational connections report higher sexual satisfaction scores than those who interact primarily with age peers. Social attitudes about aging and sexuality significantly influence individual experiences and sexual satisfaction. Adults who live in communities with positive attitudes about aging report higher sexual satisfaction than those in communities where aging is viewed negatively. Cultural messages about sexuality in later life affect how people view their own sexual potential and worth. The research shows that adults who challenge negative stereotypes about aging and sexuality maintain higher satisfaction levels than those who accept these limitations as inevitable. The most sexually satisfied older adults share specific social connection patterns that emerged clearly from recent research. They maintain regular contact with at least 3 close friends outside their romantic relationships. They participate in at least 1 regular social activity or community group. They have relationships with people from different generations. They use technology to stay connected with distant friends and family members. They prioritize social connections even when physical limitations make socializing more challenging. These adults treat social connection as essential for their overall health and well-being rather than just a nice addition to their lives. However, these social connection patterns affect men and women differently as they age, creating distinct experiences that researchers are only beginning to understand. The gender gap that's finally closing. The 2025 data reveals that this gap is narrowing significantly, with women showing remarkable improvements in sexual satisfaction that bring their scores much closer to men's levels. This shift represents one of the most significant changes in sexual wellness patterns documented in recent research. Understanding what's driving these changes provides crucial insights for anyone preparing for their later years. Traditional research consistently showed that men reported higher sexual satisfaction than women across all age groups, with this gap widening after age 65. The newer data tells a different story entirely. Women over 65 now report sexual satisfaction scores that approach men's levels much more closely than in previous decades, reflecting changes in medical care, social attitudes, and how women approach sexual wellness as they age. Menopause and hormonal changes continue to present significant challenges for women's sexual satisfaction, but the impact of these changes is decreasing due to better understanding and treatment options. The decline in estrogen levels that occurs during menopause leads to physical changes that can make sexual activity uncomfortable or less enjoyable. Vaginal dryness, reduced sensitivity, and changes in arousal patterns affect many women entering their 60s. However, women who receive appropriate medical support and education about these changes adapt more successfully than previous generations. The approach to managing menopausal changes has evolved dramatically in recent years. Women now have access to better information about hormonal changes and more treatment options for addressing sexual discomfort. Modern hormone replacement therapy options provide more targeted relief with fewer side effects than earlier treatments. Vaginal lubricants and moisturizers have improved significantly, offering better solutions for physical discomfort during sexual activity. These advances allow women to maintain sexual satisfaction despite hormonal changes that previously created significant barriers. Men's sexual health challenges change with age in ways that significantly impact their satisfaction levels. Erectile function, ejaculatory function, and sexual desire all tend to decrease as men get older. The Olmsted County study documented that these declines occur at faster rates in older men, creating challenges that many men struggle to address effectively. However, the research also reveals that older men may be less likely to perceive these changes as problems compared to younger men experiencing similar issues. The psychological impact of sexual changes affects men differently than women in ways that influence overall satisfaction. Men often tie sexual performance closely to their sense of masculinity and self-worth, making age-related changes particularly challenging psychologically. Erectile dysfunction can create anxiety that makes the problem worse, leading to cycles where worry about performance actually causes performance problems. Men who learn to separate sexual satisfaction from performance metrics maintain higher satisfaction levels as they age. One of the most surprising findings from the 2025 research concerns women over 70 who report higher sexual satisfaction than women in their 60s. This counterintuitive finding suggests that while physical changes associated with menopause create challenges in the early postmenopausal years, many women eventually adapt and find renewed sexual satisfaction. Women in their 70s often report feeling more comfortable with their bodies, less concerned about pregnancy, and more focused on pleasure rather than performance. The improvement in sexual satisfaction for women over 70 appears to result from multiple factors working together. Many women report that the pressure to be sexually available decreases with age, allowing them to focus more on their own pleasure and satisfaction. The end of fertility concerns creates freedom to explore sexuality without worry about pregnancy. Some women also report that their partners become more attentive and less focused on performance as they age, leading to more satisfying sexual experiences overall. Different generations of women approach sexual wellness with varying attitudes and expectations that significantly impact their satisfaction levels. Women currently in their 60s and 70s grew up during periods of changing sexual attitudes and may have more open approaches to addressing sexual concerns than previous generations. However, they also encountered cultural messages about women's sexuality that emphasized pleasing partners rather than seeking personal satisfaction. Women who overcome these generational barriers often experience significant improvements in sexual satisfaction. Medical interventions now offer more effective solutions for gender-specific sexual health challenges than ever before. Hormone replacement therapy has become more sophisticated, with options that target specific symptoms while minimizing side effects. Vaginal lubricants and moisturizers provide better relief for physical discomfort that can interfere with sexual satisfaction. For men, erectile dysfunction treatments have expanded beyond traditional medications to include newer options that work for more men with fewer side effects. The availability of effective medical treatments creates opportunities for both men and women to maintain sexual satisfaction despite age-related physical changes. Women who work with healthcare providers to address menopausal symptoms often experience dramatic improvements in sexual comfort and satisfaction. Men who seek treatment for erectile dysfunction or other sexual health concerns typically report better outcomes than those who simply accept these changes as inevitable parts of aging. Changing social attitudes about women's sexuality affect older women's sexual satisfaction in profound ways. Cultural shifts toward recognizing women's sexual rights and pleasure create more supportive environments for women to address sexual concerns and seek satisfaction. These attitude changes help older women feel more comfortable discussing sexual issues and seeking solutions for sexual problems. The result is better outcomes and higher satisfaction levels for women who might have simply accepted sexual decline in previous eras. Specific factors predict sexual satisfaction differently for men and women after age 65. For men, maintaining emotional connection with sexual partners reduces the likelihood of sexual problems and increases satisfaction. The Swell study found that emotional intimacy during sexual activity correlated with lower response problems for both genders. Physical health factors, particularly cardiovascular health, strongly predict sexual satisfaction for men. For women, relationship quality patterns emerge as stronger predictors than physical health factors. Women who experience poor relationships with sexual partners are more likely to encounter sexual problems and lower satisfaction. The convergence of sexual satisfaction scores between men and women reflects fundamental changes in how both genders approach sexuality in later life. Men are learning to value emotional connection more highly, while women are becoming more assertive about seeking sexual satisfaction and addressing sexual problems. These changes create opportunities for both men and women to experience better sexual satisfaction than previous generations enjoyed. However, across all these gender-specific patterns, researchers discovered that one factor predicted sexual satisfaction more powerfully than any other characteristic they measured. The most powerful predictor revealed. After analyzing thousands of participants across 15 years of data, researchers discovered something that surprised everyone studying sexual satisfaction after age 65. The most powerful predictors weren't what anyone expected. According to the German study, emotional intimacy, rural living status, and self-rated health predicted satisfaction more strongly than factors like relationship duration, financial security, or even physical health measurements. These findings challenge everything most people assume about sexuality and aging. This discovery reveals that maintaining sexual satisfaction requires a fundamentally different approach than most people imagine. We typically think that preserving sexual wellness means fighting against age-related changes or maintaining established routines. The research reveals the opposite. Adults who prioritize emotional connection and maintain willingness to seek help and adjust sexual practices achieve significantly better outcomes than those who resist change or avoid addressing sexual concerns. The data shows that couples who develop strong emotional intimacy report satisfaction scores substantially higher than couples who focus primarily on physical aspects of sexuality. This difference proves larger than the impact of most medical interventions or lifestyle changes. Adults who scored highest on emotional connection measures maintain sexual satisfaction levels that remain stable or even improved over time, while those with weaker emotional bonds experienced steady declines in satisfaction as they aged. Emotional intimacy in sexual relationships encompasses multiple dimensions that researchers documented through detailed surveys and interviews. Couples with strong emotional intimacy communicate openly about their sexual needs, concerns, and desires. They maintain physical affection beyond sexual activity, including cuddling, kissing, and touching throughout their daily interactions. They also demonstrate empathy and understanding when discussing sexual changes or challenges that arise with aging. These couples treat sexual intimacy as an expression of their emotional connection rather than a separate physical activity. The psychological mechanisms behind emotional intimacy's power make sense when you understand how emotional disconnection affects sexual satisfaction. Adults who lack emotional intimacy with their partners often experience increased anxiety and self-consciousness during sexual activity. They may avoid discussing sexual concerns or changes, leading to misunderstandings and unmet needs. This avoidance creates cycles where reduced communication leads to further emotional distance that makes sexual satisfaction even more difficult to achieve. Adults who prioritize emotional connection approach sexual challenges as shared experiences rather than individual problems. When they encounter erectile dysfunction, vaginal dryness, or reduced sensitivity, they discuss these changes openly and work together to find solutions. This collaborative approach leads to better outcomes because it encourages experimentation, mutual support, and seeking help when needed. Emotionally connected adults are more likely to discuss sexual concerns with healthcare providers and to support each other through treatment processes. The Swell study findings demonstrate how prioritizing sexual health predicts satisfaction outcomes across all age groups. Adults who actively manage their sexual wellness through regular healthcare visits, open communication with partners, and willingness to address sexual concerns maintain higher satisfaction levels than those who ignore sexual health issues. This proactive approach reflects the adaptability that characterizes the most sexually satisfied older adults, their willingness to seek help and adjust sexual practices as circumstances change. Rural living status emerged as an unexpected predictor of sexual satisfaction that researchers are still working to understand fully. Adults living in rural areas report higher sexual satisfaction scores than urban dwellers, possibly due to stronger community connections, reduced stress levels, or different lifestyle patterns. Rural adults may also have different expectations about aging and sexuality that contribute to higher satisfaction levels. This finding highlights how environmental and cultural factors influence sexual wellness in ways that previous research hadn't fully explored. Self-rated health proves more predictive of sexual satisfaction than objective health measurements, revealing the importance of perception and attitude in sexual wellness. Adults who view their health positively maintain higher sexual satisfaction even when they have chronic conditions or physical limitations. This finding suggests that how people think about their health affects their sexual experiences more than their actual medical diagnoses. Adults who maintain optimistic attitudes about their health despite age-related changes position themselves for better sexual outcomes. The interaction between these predictive factors creates even stronger effects on sexual satisfaction. Adults who maintain strong emotional intimacy while also prioritizing their sexual health achieve the highest satisfaction scores in the research. Their emotional connection provides a foundation for addressing sexual challenges together, while their proactive health management gives them more options for maintaining sexual function. Similarly, adults who combine positive health attitudes with willingness to adapt their sexual practices report satisfaction levels that exceed what either factor produces alone. The connection between emotional intimacy and health management creates particularly powerful effects on sexual outcomes. Emotionally connected couples are more likely to support each other through medical treatments for sexual health concerns. They're also more likely to make lifestyle changes together that might improve sexual function, such as exercise programs, stress management techniques, or dietary modifications. This mutual support enhances both their health outcomes and their sexual satisfaction. Professional support can help adults develop the emotional intimacy and health prioritization skills that predict sexual satisfaction. Couples therapy, sex therapy, and healthcare consultations provide opportunities to strengthen emotional connections and address sexual health concerns. Support groups for older adults dealing with sexual changes also offer chances to learn from others who have successfully maintained sexual satisfaction through aging. The research demonstrates that these predictive factors can be developed and strengthened at any age, providing hope for adults who worry about their sexual future. Developing emotional intimacy starts with improving communication skills and creating regular opportunities for meaningful connection with partners. Prioritizing sexual health involves taking a proactive approach to addressing sexual concerns and maintaining overall wellness. These skills and attitudes can be learned and practiced regardless of current age or circumstances. These findings provide a clear foundation for understanding what supports sexual wellness throughout aging. But knowing what predicts satisfaction is only the beginning. The real question becomes how to translate this research into practical
action
steps
plan
that anyone can start implementing
sexual
today.
wellness.
The research findings point towards specific actions that anyone can take to maintain sexual wellness throughout their later years. Based on the German study data, 3 modifiable factors explain nearly half of the variation in sexual satisfaction after 65: emotional intimacy with partners, self-rated health status, and maintaining social contacts. These predictors offer a clear framework for building sexual wellness that extends well beyond your intimate relationships. Emotional intimacy emerges as the most powerful factor you can influence directly. This involves developing communication skills that allow you to discuss sexual needs, concerns, and changes openly with your partner. Emotional intimacy means maintaining physical affection beyond sexual activity through daily touching, cuddling, and kissing. It requires demonstrating empathy and understanding when discussing sexual challenges that arise with aging. Couples with strong emotional connections treat sexual intimacy as an expression of their relationship rather than a separate physical activity. Building emotional intimacy starts with improving how you communicate about sensitive topics. Choose times when both you and your partner are relaxed and not dealing with other stressors. Start conversations about sexual wellness by framing them as opportunities to strengthen your relationship rather than focusing on problems or deficits. Use phrases like, "I want us to maintain our connection as we get older," instead of highlighting specific concerns or limitations. Practice listening to your partner's needs without becoming defensive and expressing your own needs without blame or criticism. Self-rated health status proves more predictive of sexual satisfaction than objective medical measurements, revealing how your attitude toward your health affects your sexual experiences. Adults who view their health positively maintain higher sexual satisfaction even when they have chronic conditions or physical limitations. This finding suggests that how you think about your health matters more than your actual medical diagnoses for sexual wellness outcomes. Maintaining a positive health perspective requires active partnership with healthcare providers rather than passive acceptance of declining function. Address chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension that can damage blood vessels essential for sexual function. Work with your doctor to optimize blood sugar control and discuss blood pressure medications that cause fewer sexual side effects. Many newer medications provide effective treatment with less impact on sexual function, but you need to advocate for yourself to find the best options. Regular exercise provides one of the most effective interventions for maintaining sexual satisfaction as you age. Physical activity improves cardiovascular health, which controls blood flow to genital areas during sexual arousal. Exercise also enhances mood, increases energy levels, and improves body confidence, all factors that contribute to sexual satisfaction. Adults who maintain consistent exercise routines report dramatically higher sexual satisfaction scores compared to sedentary peers. The type of exercise matters less than consistency and finding activities you enjoy enough to maintain long-term. Walking, swimming, cycling, strength training, or yoga all provide similar benefits for sexual wellness. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, which can be broken into shorter sessions that fit your schedule and physical capabilities. Social contacts represent the third major predictor of sexual satisfaction that you can actively influence. The German study found that the number of close relationships correlates directly with satisfaction scores, highlighting how friendships and community connections support sexual wellness. Adults with robust social networks experience significantly higher sexual satisfaction than socially isolated individuals, even when controlling for relationship status and physical health. Building and maintaining social connections requires intentional effort that becomes more important with age. Maintain regular contact with at least 3 close friends outside your romantic relationship. These friendships provide emotional support that reduces stress and anxiety, factors that directly interfere with sexual function. Friends also serve as confidants for discussing concerns about aging and health changes, helping you process these concerns rather than letting them create anxiety about sexual performance. Community involvement provides additional benefits for sexual wellness beyond individual friendships. Adults who participate regularly in volunteer work, religious services, hobby groups, or exercise classes maintain sexual satisfaction levels similar to adults 10 years younger. Choose activities that align with your interests and values, focusing on consistency rather than the specific type of involvement. Regular community participation reduces isolation, provides purpose, and creates positive social experiences that enhance overall well-being. Mental health factors require proactive attention because depression and anxiety significantly impact sexual satisfaction. If you experience persistent sadness, loss of interest in activities, or excessive worry, seek professional help promptly. Depression affects sexual satisfaction through multiple pathways, reducing your ability to experience physical pleasure and creating negative thought patterns that interfere with intimate connection. Treating depression often produces improvements in sexual satisfaction even when sexual activity frequency remains unchanged. Stress management becomes increasingly important as you age because chronic stress suppresses hormone production and interferes with sexual function. Develop regular stress reduction practices that work for your lifestyle, such as meditation, yoga, deep breathing exercises, or spending time in nature. Even brief daily stress reduction practices can make meaningful differences in your overall well-being and sexual satisfaction. Starting conversations about sexual health with healthcare providers requires preparation and direct communication. Only a small percentage of older adults discuss sexual issues with their physicians, which means you'll likely need to initiate these conversations. Prepare specific questions about how your health conditions or medications might affect sexual function. Ask about treatment options if you're experiencing sexual problems. Remember that sexual health deserves the same medical attention as other health concerns. Professional support becomes valuable when you need help developing communication skills or addressing specific sexual health concerns. Sex therapists specialize in helping adults adapt to sexual changes throughout their lives. Counselors can help with relationship skills and stress management strategies. Healthcare providers can address medical factors that affect sexual function and recommend appropriate treatments. These research-backed strategies provide a foundation for maintaining sexual wellness regardless of your current age or circumstances. The German study findings demonstrate that sexual satisfaction after 65 depends largely on factors within your control rather than inevitable consequences of aging. Taking action on these findings requires focusing on the research-backed predictors that matter most for sexual wellness after 65. The data clearly identifies 4 key areas where your efforts will have the greatest impact: emotional connection with your partner, maintaining positive health status, building social contacts, and managing mental wellness. These factors work together to support sexual satisfaction that remains meaningful and fulfilling throughout your later years. While sexual satisfaction may naturally decline with age, the research proves you can maximize and maintain what you experience through deliberate action. Start implementing these evidence-based strategies regardless of your current age. Prioritize cardiovascular health, develop communication skills with your partner, cultivate strong friendships, and address mental health concerns promptly. Your sexual satisfaction in later life depends on the